I'd never expected to walk into my home and find my wife in bed with someone else. But that's exactly what happened when I came back early from work last Tuesday. The scene was so surreal that for a moment, I couldn't process what I was seeing. There they were, Lily, my wife, tangled up with Dan, our new neighbor, in a way that made my blood run cold. I stood there, frozen, feeling like the world had been ripped from under my feet. My heart pounded in my chest, and my mind raced. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but something inside me told me to keep calm. I quietly retreated, closing the door behind me and making my way to the kitchen. The rage that surged through me was almost unbearable. I couldn't believe Lily, the woman I'd trusted above all others, could betray me like this. As I sat in the kitchen, a plan began to take shape. If I couldn't trust her anymore, I'd at least get some satisfaction. I decided to invite Dan over for dinner. I would expose him and Lily for what they were. And I'd do it in a way that left no room for denial. The evening arrived, and I was determined to play my part perfectly. Lily greeted me with a smile, oblivious to the turmoil inside me. She was enthusiastic about the dinner, thinking it was a chance to mend fences after a particularly stressful week. I played along, putting on a mask of normalcy. Dan, unsuspecting, arrived on time, his cheerful demeanor only fueling my inner fury. Dinner started with pleasantries and small talk. Lily was her usual self, charming and engaging, while Dan seemed relaxed, perhaps a bit too relaxed. I maintained a polite demeanor, though my mind was racing. The conversation was strained, filled with forced laughter and awkward pauses. When the moment felt right, I excused myself and discreetly poured more wine into Dan's glass, hoping to loosen him up. Returning to the table, I steered the conversation toward topics of trust and loyalty. I watched Dan's face closely, searching for any sign that he knew what was coming. His casual responses only intensified my determination. Finally, I decided the time had come. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, displaying the pictures I had taken earlier that day. The images of Lily and Dan together, in their most intimate moments, were undeniable. I slid the phone across the table, watching as Dan's face turned from confident to pale. Lily's eyes widened in shock as she looked at the phone. Her mouth opened in disbelief, and for a moment, she couldn't find words. I could see the realization dawning on her, the painful truth sinking in. She tried to speak, but the betrayal was too fresh, too raw. Dan attempted to stammer out excuses, but his words were empty. I watched with a cold detachment as he flailed, trying to salvage his dignity. I'd never felt so detached from a person who had once seemed so important to me. "I can't do this anymore," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I'm done. I can't live with someone who has so easily thrown away everything we had." Without another word, I left the house, slamming the door behind me. The noise echoed in my ears as I walked away, leaving Lily and Dan alone to confront the shattered remains of their lives. It was up to them now to figure out what came next. I spent the night driving aimlessly, letting the miles and my thoughts blur together. The rage and betrayal I'd felt were slowly giving way to a numb emptiness. I didn't know where I was going, but it felt important to keep moving. My phone buzzed with messages. Mostly from Lily. I ignored them, unable to face her yet. When the sun began to rise, I found myself parked at a small, secluded park on the outskirts of town. The quiet surroundings did little to calm the storm within me, but they provided a temporary reprieve from the chaos I had left behind. I sat in the car, staring out at the empty playground, my mind replaying the events of the previous evening. Eventually, I decided I needed to talk to someone. I dialed a number I hadn't used in years, my old friend Mark. He was someone who knew me well and had a knack for providing perspective when I needed it most. I explained the situation briefly, not wanting to delve too deeply into the details just yet. His response was supportive, though his voice was tinged with surprise and concern. "You did what you had to do," he said, his tone reassuring. "You can't let this destroy you. Focus on what's next for you." Hearing his words helped ground me, even if only a little. I knew I needed to make some decisions about my future. But I was still wrestling with the overwhelming sense of betrayal and hurt. By the time I returned home, the sky was dark. The house was eerily quiet, a stark contrast to the noise and confrontation from the previous night. I took a deep breath before opening the door, steeling myself for whatever awaited me inside. I found Lily in the living room, her face swollen from crying, her eyes red and puffy. She looked up, and I could see the pain etched across her features. "Adam," she said softly, her voice trembling, "can we talk?" I nodded, trying to remain calm despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. We sat down on the couch, and for a moment, the only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall. Lily began to speak, her words coming out in a jumble of apologies and explanations. She spoke of her mistakes, her regrets, and how everything had spiraled out of control. But her words felt hollow to me, a poor attempt at justification. "I never meant to hurt you," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Dan and it was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I don't even know how it happened." I listened, but my heart was hardened. Her explanations did little to erase the sting of betrayal. "Lily, it's too late for apologies," I said finally, my voice steady but cold. "You've shattered our trust. I don't know if that can ever be repaired." We sat in silence for a while, each lost in our own thoughts. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. I was finally confronting the reality of our situation. But the process was far from easy. After a long, painful discussion, we reached a decision. It was clear that neither of us wanted to continue living this lie. "I think it's best if we both take some time apart," I said, the words feeling both liberating and heavy. "We need to figure out what we want and where we go from here." Lily agreed, her shoulders slumping as she accepted the reality of our situation. We both knew that this wasn't the end of the road, but it was a necessary step. As I gathered a few belongings and prepared to leave once more, I glanced back at Lily. Her face was a mix of regret and resignation. I walked out of the house again, feeling the weight of the decision settling on my shoulders. The road ahead was uncertain, but I knew I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my own life. I spent the first few days after leaving the house in a state of numbness. I moved between a small apartment I rented on a whim and the sparsely furnished spare room at Mark's place. Each night, I lay awake, my mind racing with a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Despite my efforts to stay busy, the quiet moments were the hardest, filled with reflections on what went wrong and what came next. As the days stretched into a week, I began to see things more clearly. The raw pain was still there, but it was starting to give way to a grudging acceptance. I forced myself to begin the process of moving forward, focusing on tasks I had neglected for too long, sorting through my finances, reconnecting with old friends, and even beginning to look for a new job. It was a slow and often painful process, but it was also a necessary one. One afternoon, while I was browsing through job listings online, I received a call from Lily. My heart sank at the sight of her name on my phone, but I answered, bracing myself for the conversation. "Adam, can we talk?" Her voice was hesitant, tinged with a mixture of hope and trepidation. I agreed, though I was unsure of what to expect. We arranged to meet at a small cafe in town, a neutral space where we could talk without the pressure of our old home looming over us. When I arrived, Lily was already there, sitting at a table near the window. Her appearance was markedly different from the last time I saw her. She looked more composed, though the sadness in her eyes was still evident. "Hi," she said softly as I approached. "Hi," I replied, sitting down across from her. I noticed the way her fingers fidgeted with the edge of her coffee cup, a small sign of her anxiety. We started with small talk, a feeble attempt to bridge the gap that had grown between us. After a few minutes of awkward conversation, Lily took a deep breath and began to speak. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said, her voice steady but laden with emotion. "I've come to realize how deeply I hurt you and how much I regret my actions. I know that nothing I say can change the past, but I wanted to apologize properly." I listened, noting the sincerity in her words. It was clear she was struggling to find the right way to express her remorse. "Lily, I appreciate the apology," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "But you have to understand, it's not just about saying sorry. The damage has been done, and it's something I need to work through." She nodded, her eyes filled with tears. "I understand. I'm not expecting you to forgive me right away or to pretend like nothing happened. I just wanted to acknowledge how wrong I was and how much I regret everything." The conversation turned to more practical matters. We discussed the logistics of our separation, dividing our belongings, and the future of our shared responsibilities. It was a difficult discussion, filled with moments of tension and sadness, but we managed to navigate it with a sense of mutual respect. As the meeting came to a close, Lily reached across the table and took my hand. "I hope one day you can find it in your heart to forgive me," she said, her voice trembling. I gave her a small, pained smile. "Maybe someday," I replied. "For now, I need to focus on moving forward and finding my own path." We parted ways with a mix of lingering sadness and tentative hope. I watched Lily leave, feeling a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. The road to recovery was still long, and the future remained uncertain. But as I walked away from the cafe, I felt a small sense of closure beginning to take shape. I had taken a crucial step in confronting the past, and now it was time to fully embrace the journey ahead. Each day was a new challenge, but it was one I was ready to face. The weeks following my meeting with Lily were a whirlwind of self-reflection and adjustment. My routine had settled into a pattern of work, gym sessions, and quiet evenings alone. The apartment, though small and bare, was starting to feel like a refuge rather than a cage. I threw myself into my new job and tried to make the most of this fresh start. One evening, as I was unpacking some old boxes, I found a box of mementos from my time with Lily, photos, letters, and trinkets from our travels together. Each item was a reminder of happier times, and the sight of them was bittersweet. I debated whether to keep them or let them go, but ultimately, I decided that I needed to confront these memories rather than bury them. It was part of the process of moving forward. In the midst of this personal upheaval, I started to notice the subtle changes in my routine. Friends reached out, and I began to reconnect with those I drifted away from during my years with Lily. I even started attending a weekly support group for people going through similar experiences. It was a humbling reminder that I wasn't alone in my struggles. And it helped me gain perspective on my own situation. One day, while attending the support group, I met Sarah. She was kind and insightful, and her own story of heartbreak and recovery resonated with me deeply. We struck up a conversation after the meeting, and she seemed to understand the complexities of what I was going through. We exchanged numbers, and before long, our conversations extended beyond the group meetings. Sarah and I began to spend more time together, talking about our experiences and sharing our thoughts. There was an easy rapport between us, and she had a way of making me laugh despite the heaviness of my situation. Slowly, I found myself looking forward to our interactions, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a glimmer of hope and connection. One evening, as we walked through the park together, Sarah broached a subject that had been on my mind as well. "Have you thought about what you want for your future?" she asked, her voice gentle but probing. I paused, considering her question. "Honestly, I've been so focused on just getting through each day that I haven't really thought about what comes next," I admitted. "But now, I guess I'm starting to think about it more." "What about you?" Sarah smiled. "I'm starting to think about it too. It's a difficult journey, but I'm learning that it's important to look forward and not just dwell on the past." Our conversations began to revolve around future plans and dreams, and it was refreshing to think about something beyond the pain of the past. It was clear that Sarah was a positive influence, encouraging me to consider new possibilities and embrace change. One weekend, we decided to explore a nearby town, seeking a break from the usual routine. The trip was lighthearted and filled with laughter, and it reminded me of the simple joys that life still had to offer. I was beginning to see that there was more to look forward to than I had initially thought. As the days turned into months, I continued to make progress in rebuilding my life. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer defined me. I was learning to navigate my emotions, cherish the support from new friends, and take small steps toward a hopeful future. Although I hadn't fully forgiven Lily, I had found a measure of peace. I was moving forward, learning to embrace new experiences and relationships, and slowly discovering a renewed sense of purpose. It was a journey of healing and self-discovery, and while the path was uncertain, it was also filled with potential. Months had passed since my confrontation with Lily, and the routine of my new life was beginning to feel normal. Work had become a source of stability, and my relationship with Sarah had grown into a comforting friendship. I had also made strides in dealing with my own feelings and re-establishing my sense of self. One Friday evening, I received an unexpected call from Lily. Her voice was tentative, and I could tell she was struggling to find the right words. "Adam, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to check in and see how you're holding up." I was taken aback by the call but tried to keep my tone neutral. "I'm managing. What's on your mind?" She hesitated before speaking. "I've been reflecting on everything that happened and I wanted to let you know that I'm truly sorry." I've been working on making amends and trying to find some closure myself. Her words were sincere, but I couldn't deny the pang of discomfort they brought. I appreciate you reaching out. It's been a journey for me, too. I'm trying to focus on moving forward. We talked briefly, exchanging updates about our lives and the progress we'd made. The conversation felt strangely formal but also necessary. It was clear that Lily was seeking some form of reconciliation, and though I was not ready to fully open that door, I respected her attempt at closure. As the days went by, I continued to focus on my own healing and growth. Sarah and I had developed a deeper connection, and she had become an important part of my life. We spent more time together, exploring new interests and enjoying each other's company. Her presence was a soothing balm to the wounds of the past. One Saturday afternoon, Sarah and I decided to visit a local art fair. It was a lively event, filled with colorful displays and cheerful vendors. As we wandered through the stalls, I found myself feeling more at ease than I had in a long time. The vibrant atmosphere and engaging conversations with local artists were invigorating. Midway through our visit, I ran into someone from my past. It was Dan, my former neighbor. He looked as surprised to see me as I was to see him. We exchanged awkward greetings, and he introduced me to his girlfriend. The encounter was brief, but it was enough to remind me of the complexity of the situation I had left behind. Sarah noticed the shift in my mood and gently squeezed my hand. "Are you okay?" she asked, concern evident in her voice. I nodded, taking a deep breath. "Yeah, just a reminder of where I've been. It's a bit unsettling, but I'm okay." The rest of the day passed pleasantly, and I was grateful for Sarah's support. It was moments like these that reinforced the progress I was making. I was learning to embrace the present and build a future that was no longer defined by the past. Later that week, I received an email from Lily. She wanted to let me know that she had decided to move to a different city. It was a significant change, and she hoped it would help her start anew. Her message was respectful and expressed her hopes for both of us to find peace in our separate paths. Reading her email, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. It was clear that we both needed this fresh start, and though the road to healing had been long and challenging, it was leading us in the right direction. As I prepared to meet Sarah for dinner, I reflected on how far I had come. The journey wasn't over, but I was learning to navigate it with more confidence and clarity. Life had a way of throwing unexpected challenges, but it also offered moments of renewal and connection. And as I walked toward our meeting place, I felt a renewed sense of hope and anticipation for what lay ahead. The weeks following Lily's move were filled with a sense of quiet stability. I had settled into a comfortable routine, balancing work, personal interests, and my evolving relationship with Sarah. The pain of the past was becoming a more distant memory, and I was starting to feel like I had reclaimed a piece of my old self. One Sunday afternoon, Sarah and I decided to visit a local vineyard for a wine tasting event. The day was sunny and warm, and the vineyard's rolling hills were a picturesque backdrop for our outing. As we sipped wine and strolled through the vineyards, we talked about our hopes for the future and the ways we were continuing to grow from our past experiences. It was during this relaxed, sunny afternoon that I received a text message from an unknown number. When I opened it, I was surprised to see a photo of Lily, looking happy and settled in a new city, along with a short message: "I'm doing well and just wanted to let you know. I hope you're finding peace too." The message was unexpected, and it stirred a mix of emotions within me. I showed it to Sarah, who noticed my reaction immediately. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. I nodded, though I was clearly unsettled. "It's from Lily. She's letting me know she's doing well." Sarah's expression softened. "It's good that she's finding her way. And it sounds like you're finding your way too. How are you feeling about it?" I took a deep breath. Considering her question, "I'm not sure. It's a strange feeling. I'm glad she's okay, but it also brings up old feelings I thought were behind me." Sarah squeezed my hand reassuringly. "It's natural to have mixed feelings. It's part of the process of moving on. You're making great strides, and it's okay to feel a bit conflicted." Her support was comforting, and I appreciated her perspective. We continued our day at the vineyard, the conversation flowing easily as we explored new wines and enjoyed the scenery. The message from Lily became just another part of the puzzle that was my journey, and I was learning to deal with these pieces one step at a time. Over the next few weeks, I focused on deepening my connection with Sarah. Our relationship had grown from a supportive friendship into something more meaningful. We began discussing our future more seriously, exploring possibilities and sharing our dreams. It was a refreshing change from the emotional turmoil of the past. One evening, as we were planning a weekend getaway, Sarah brought up a topic that had been on her mind. Have you thought about what you want your life to look like in the long run? She asked. What are your goals now that you're moving forward? The question made me pause. It was clear that the past had shaped my present, but I hadn't fully considered how to shape my future. I've been focusing on getting through each day and enjoying the present, I admitted. But I suppose it's time to start thinking about long-term goals. Sarah smiled encouragingly. It's a good time to start setting those goals. You've made so much progress, and now it's about building on that. Think about what makes you happy and what you want to achieve. Her words resonated with me. I started to consider what I wanted from my life beyond the immediate concerns of recovery and adjustment. I began making plans, both personal and professional, that reflected my newfound sense of self and purpose. As I looked ahead, I realized that while the past would always be a part of me, it no longer had to define my future. The journey had been challenging, but it had led me to a place where I could envision new possibilities and embrace the changes that lay ahead. And with Sarah by my side, I felt more hopeful than ever about the path I was on. The transition into this new phase of my life had begun to feel more natural. I found myself embracing routines that were once disrupted and taking pleasure in the simple joys that came with starting fresh. Sarah and I continued to build our relationship, growing closer with each passing day. One Saturday, we decided to visit an old bookstore downtown, a charming place known for its cozy atmosphere and eclectic collection. As we browsed through the shelves, I stumbled upon a section of self-help books and memoirs. Curious, I picked up a book about healing from past relationships and started flipping through its pages. Sarah noticed my interest and came over to see what I was looking at. Find anything interesting? She asked with a smile. I nodded, showing her the book. Just exploring some new perspectives on moving forward. It's fascinating to see how others have navigated similar experiences. Sarah took the book and skimmed through it. It sounds like a good read. It's always helpful to get insights from different viewpoints. We spent some time discussing the book's themes, and it prompted a deeper conversation about our own journeys and the lessons we had learned. The discussion was enlightening, and it reinforced the progress I had made. It also helped me gain clarity about my goals and desires for the future. As the weeks went by, I began to notice positive changes in my outlook. My professional life was becoming more fulfilling, and I was actively pursuing new opportunities. I felt a sense of purpose that I hadn't experienced in a long time. Sarah's support was a significant factor in this newfound confidence, and our relationship continued to grow stronger. One evening, as we were having dinner, Sarah brought up a topic that had been on her mind. Have you thought about what you want to achieve in the next few years? What are your long-term goals? Her question was a reminder of the importance of looking ahead. I've been focusing on the present and trying to enjoy each moment, I replied. But now that things are stabilizing, I'm starting to think more about what I want to accomplish. We spent the evening brainstorming and discussing various goals, both personal and professional. It was refreshing to consider the possibilities and dream about what the future could hold. Sarah's enthusiasm was infectious, and it motivated me to think more ambitiously. A few days later, I received an email that caught me off guard. It was from a former colleague who had started a new business and was looking for partners. The opportunity seemed intriguing, and it aligned with some of the goals I had been contemplating. I decided to reach out and explore the possibility further. As I delved into the details of the potential partnership, I felt a sense of excitement and apprehension. It was a significant step, but it was also a chance to pursue something that could be both challenging and rewarding. I discussed the opportunity with Sarah, who encouraged me to go for it and embrace the new possibilities. The process of exploring this new venture became a symbol of my transformation. It was a testament to the progress I had made and the new path I was forging. Each step forward was a reminder of how far I had come and how much potential lay ahead. As I prepared for the next phase of this journey, I reflected on the experiences that had shaped me and the relationships that had supported me. My connection with Sarah had been a crucial part of this process, and her presence in my life was a source of strength and inspiration. The future was still unfolding, but I was more prepared to face it with optimism and determination. The road ahead was filled with possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them with an open heart and a clear vision for what I wanted to achieve. The weeks turned into months, and the new venture I had embarked upon began to take shape. The project was demanding, but it was also incredibly rewarding. I found myself immersed in a world of creativity and innovation, something I hadn't experienced in years. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities, and I relished the sense of purpose it provided. Throughout this period, Sarah remained a constant source of support and encouragement. Our relationship deepened as we shared our successes and setbacks. She had become more than just a friend. She was a confidant and a partner in every sense of the word. We celebrated each milestone together, and her belief in me bolstered my own confidence. One evening, after a particularly successful day at work, Sarah and I decided to take a break and have dinner at a quaint restaurant we had been meaning to try. The ambiance was cozy, and the food was excellent. As we enjoyed our meal, Sarah looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking a lot about our journey," she said, her voice soft. "It's incredible how much has changed since we first met. I'm really proud of you and everything you've accomplished." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. Your support has been invaluable." Sarah's eyes sparkled as she reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm glad to be a part of this journey with you. I'm excited about the future and what's still to come." Her words resonated with me, and I felt a profound sense of contentment. We spent the rest of the evening talking about our plans and dreams for the future. It was a reminder of how far we had come and how much we had achieved together. A few days later, I received an invitation to attend a business conference related to my new venture. It was a significant opportunity to network and gain insights from industry leaders. I was both excited and nervous about the event, knowing it could be a pivotal moment for my career. Sarah encouraged me to make the most of the conference. "It's a great chance to showcase your work and connect with people who share your vision," she said. "I'm sure you'll do great." The conference was a whirlwind of activity. I met numerous professionals, participated in insightful discussions, and gained valuable feedback on my project. It was an invigorating experience, and it further fueled my passion for the work I was doing. One afternoon at the conference, I encountered an old acquaintance from my previous job. He seemed surprised to see me and asked about my current endeavors. I shared the details of my new venture, and he expressed genuine interest and offered some useful advice. The encounter was a reminder of how my past experiences continued to shape my present and future. As the conference came to a close, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement about the path I was on. The connections I had made and the knowledge I had gained were invaluable assets that would help me navigate the next steps of my journey. Returning home, I was eager to share my experiences with Sarah. We spent the evening discussing the highlights of the conference and the potential opportunities that lay ahead. Her enthusiasm and support were unwavering, and I felt grateful for her presence in my life. The days that followed were filled with a sense of optimism and anticipation. The future was brimming with possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them with the same determination and passion that had guided me through the challenges of the past. With Sarah by my side and the new venture progressing well, I felt confident that the journey ahead would be as fulfilling and transformative as the one I had already traveled. As the months continued to unfold, my new venture began to gain traction. The project was growing, and the recognition I had hoped for was starting to materialize. I felt a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that was both invigorating and humbling. Each day brought new challenges, but they were challenges I was eager to tackle. Sarah and I celebrated these milestones together, and our relationship grew stronger with each shared success. Her unwavering support and enthusiasm were a constant source of strength, and I was grateful for her presence in my life. We began to make plans for a future that extended beyond the immediate horizon, discussing ideas and dreams that went beyond the daily grind. One afternoon, as we were relaxing at home, Sarah turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking about something," she said. "We've both been through a lot, and I feel like it's important to take some time to reflect on our journey and how far we've come." Her suggestion resonated with me. "What do you have in mind?" I asked, curious about her thoughts. "I think it would be nice to take a short trip, just the two of us," she said. "Somewhere we can unwind and enjoy each other's company without the usual distractions." I agreed wholeheartedly. A trip sounded like a perfect way to celebrate our progress and strengthen our bond. We began planning a weekend getaway to a picturesque cabin in the mountains. A place known for its serene beauty and tranquility. The weekend arrived, and we set off for the cabin with a sense of excitement and anticipation. The drive was peaceful, and the scenery was breathtaking. As we approached the cabin, nestled among the trees, we felt a sense of calm and relaxation settle over us. The cabin was charming and cozy, with a large window that offered a panoramic view of the surrounding mountains. We spent our days hiking, exploring the area, and simply enjoying each other's company. It was a refreshing break from the hustle and bustle of daily life, and it allowed us to reconnect on a deeper level. One evening, as we sat on the cabin's porch, watching the sun set over the mountains, Sarah took my hand and looked at me with a warm smile. "This has been amazing," she said. "I'm so grateful for everything we've been able to share together." I squeezed her hand, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "I am too. This trip has been the perfect way to reflect on how far we've come and to look forward to the future." Our time at the cabin was a much-needed pause in the whirlwind of our lives. It provided a space to appreciate the progress we had made and to dream about the future we were building together. As we returned home, we felt rejuvenated and ready to continue pursuing our goals with renewed energy. The experience also reminded me of the importance of taking time to celebrate achievements and to cherish the moments that bring joy and connection. It was a valuable lesson in balance and perspective, and it reinforced the strength of our relationship. As we resumed our daily routines, I carried with me the sense of peace and fulfillment that the trip had provided. The journey we had undertaken was far from over, but I felt confident and hopeful about the road ahead. With Sarah by my side and the lessons learned along the way, I was prepared to embrace whatever the future had in store. The transition into a new year brought with it a sense of anticipation and possibility. As I continued to focus on my growing venture and strengthen my relationship with Sarah, I found myself reflecting on the changes that had taken place in my life. The past had been a journey of its own, filled with both challenges and triumphs, but it had ultimately led me to a place of clarity and purpose. One crisp January morning, I received an email inviting me to speak at a conference about my recent project. It was an honor and a significant opportunity to share my experiences with a broader audience. Excited but apprehensive, I knew it would be a pivotal moment for both my personal and professional growth. Sarah was enthusiastic about the invitation and encouraged me to seize the opportunity. "This is a great chance to showcase what you've accomplished and to inspire others," she said. "I have no doubt you'll do an amazing job." In the weeks leading up to the conference, I devoted time to preparing my presentation. I wanted to convey not only the technical aspects of my project but also the personal journey that had led me to this point. It was important to me that my story resonated with others who might be facing their own struggles. The day of the conference arrived, and the energy in the auditorium was palpable. I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as I took the stage. The audience was attentive, and I began my presentation, sharing the challenges I had faced, the lessons I had learned, and the successes I had achieved. As I spoke, I could see the audience's engagement and hear their reactions. The experience was both exhilarating and humbling. It was a chance to reflect on my journey and to connect with others who were on their own paths of growth and change. After the presentation, I received positive feedback from attendees who expressed appreciation for my insights and experiences. It was rewarding to know that my story had resonated with others and potentially made a difference. Sarah's support and encouragement had been invaluable throughout the process, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude for her presence in my life. Returning home, I was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The conference had not only validated my efforts but also inspired me to continue pushing forward and exploring new opportunities. It was a reminder of the progress I had made and the potential that lay ahead. One evening, as we sat together reflecting on the conference, Sarah looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "You did an incredible job," she said. "I'm so proud of you and all that you've achieved." I smiled, feeling a sense of fulfillment. "Thank you. Your support has meant the world to me. It's been quite a journey, and I'm grateful for everything we've been able to share together." Our conversations turned to future plans and goals. We discussed ways to build on the momentum from the conference and explore new ventures. The discussion was invigorating, and it reinforced our shared vision for the future. As we looked ahead, I felt a renewed sense of optimism and excitement. The journey was ongoing, but I was more prepared than ever to embrace the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. With Sarah by my side and a clear sense of purpose, I was ready to continue pursuing my dreams and making the most of the path that had unfolded before me. The excitement from the conference had settled into a steady sense of accomplishment, and life began to find its rhythm again. My project continued to grow, and I was making strides in the areas I had set my sights on. Sarah and I were more in sync than ever, and our plans for the future were taking shape with a newfound clarity. One evening, as we were winding down from a busy day, Sarah broached a topic that had been on her mind. "Adam, have you ever thought about how your experience with Lily and Dan has shaped who you are now?" I looked at her, considering her question. "I have, actually. It's been a significant part of my journey. It's influenced how I approach relationships and challenges. I've learned a lot about myself and what I want from life." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "I think it's important to acknowledge how far you've come and how those experiences have contributed to your growth. They're part of your story, but they don't define it entirely." Her perspective resonated with me. It was easy to focus on the pain and difficulty of the past. But it was also crucial to recognize the positive outcomes and personal growth that had emerged from those experiences. I had made peace with the past, but it was clear that it had also played a role in shaping my present and future. The conversation led us to discuss the idea of finding closure and moving forward in a meaningful way. Sarah suggested that it might be beneficial to revisit the place where it all began. "Maybe it's time to go back to the old neighborhood," she proposed. "Not to relive the past, but to see how far you've come and to gain a new perspective." I was hesitant at first, but Sarah's suggestion seemed like a valuable exercise in closure and reflection. We decided to plan a visit to the old neighborhood, not with the intent of dwelling on past grievances, but to acknowledge the journey we had been on and to appreciate the progress made. A few weekends later, we drove to the neighborhood. The area had changed somewhat, but there were familiar landmarks that brought back memories. As we walked through the streets, I felt a mixture of nostalgia and relief. The place that had once been a source of pain was now a backdrop to my personal growth and transformation. We stopped by the old house where Lily and Dan had lived. It was strange to see it from a new perspective. The house itself hadn't changed much, but the emotional weight it carried had significantly diminished. I took a deep breath, acknowledging the role it had played in my past while recognizing the distance I had traveled since then. Sarah and I walked through the neighborhood, talking about our journey and the lessons learned along the way. It was a cathartic experience, one that allowed us to reflect on the growth that had come from adversity. We were able to appreciate the positive changes and the way our lives had evolved. As we left the neighborhood, I felt a sense of closure and peace. It was a reminder of how far I had come and the strength I had gained through the challenges I had faced. The visit was not about revisiting old wounds but about acknowledging the journey and celebrating the progress. Back home, we continued to build on the momentum from our visit. Our relationship grew stronger, and we continued to explore new opportunities together. The experiences of the past had shaped us, but they had also paved the way for a future filled with hope and possibility. As I looked forward, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. The past was a part of my story, but it no longer defined me. With Sarah by my side and a clear vision for the future, I was ready to embrace the new opportunities and challenges that lay ahead. The new year brought with it a wave of fresh opportunities and a deeper sense of purpose. My project continued to grow, and I was making significant strides in my professional life. With Sarah's unwavering support, we had been exploring new horizons and setting ambitious goals for the future. One crisp winter evening, as we were relaxing at home, Sarah brought up an idea that had been on her mind. "Adam, I've been thinking about how much we've both grown over the past year. It might be a good time to celebrate that growth and make some new plans for the future." I looked at her, intrigued. "What do you have in mind?" Sarah's eyes sparkled with excitement. "How about hosting a gathering with some close friends and family? It could be a way to mark this chapter in our lives and share our journey with those who have been supportive." The idea appealed to me. It would be a meaningful way to celebrate our progress and strengthen our connections with the people who had been a part of our journey. We began planning the event, thinking about the guest list, the venue, and the details that would make it special. As we organized the gathering, I found myself reflecting on the relationships that had shaped my life. It was clear that while the past had its challenges, it had also led to positive changes and meaningful connections. The people who would attend the gathering had been a part of this journey in various ways, and it felt important to acknowledge their support. The evening of the gathering arrived, and the atmosphere was filled with warmth and joy. Friends and family gathered in our home, and the room was filled with laughter and conversation. As the night progressed, I took a moment to look around and appreciate the people who had been a part of our journey. Sarah and I took turns sharing our experiences and expressing our gratitude to those who had supported us. It was a heartfelt evening, and the connections we celebrated were a testament to the strength and resilience we had built over time. One of the highlights of the evening was when Sarah and I stood together to make a toast. With glasses raised, I began to speak. To everyone here tonight, thank you for being a part of our journey. Your support has meant more to us than words can express. This evening is not just a celebration of our accomplishments but also a tribute to the relationships that have helped us along the way. The room erupted in applause, and I felt a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment. The gathering was more than just a celebration, it was a reflection of the progress we had made and the connections we had built. As the evening came to a close, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and optimism. The support of our friends and family had reinforced the importance of nurturing these relationships and continuing to build on the positive experiences of the past. In the days that followed, Sarah and I continued to focus on our goals and plans for the future. The gathering had been a reminder of how far we had come and the potential that lay ahead. We were excited about the opportunities that the future held and were committed to embracing them with the same determination and passion that had guided us thus far. As I looked forward to the coming year, I felt confident and hopeful. The journey had been transformative, and with Sarah by my side and the support of our loved ones, I was ready to continue pursuing my dreams and making the most of the path that lay ahead. The passage of time continued to bring growth and transformation. My project was thriving, and Sarah and I were enjoying the fruits of our hard work. We had successfully balanced our professional ambitions with a rich and fulfilling personal life. As we settled into this new phase, we began contemplating the next steps and how to further solidify our future. One afternoon, while we were brainstorming future plans, Sarah brought up an idea that had been brewing in her mind. "Adam, I've been thinking about how we've come so far together. What if we took some time to give back? We've both been fortunate, and I think it might be meaningful to support a cause that's important to us." Her suggestion was compelling. I agreed that giving back could be a profound way to use our success to make a positive impact. We began exploring various causes and organizations that aligned with our values. After some research, we decided to focus on supporting local educational programs for underprivileged youth. We both felt that education was a powerful tool for creating change and wanted to contribute in a way that could make a tangible difference. We reached out to several organizations and found one that resonated with us. The organization focused on providing resources and mentorship to students who lacked access to quality education. It was an initiative that matched our desire to make a meaningful contribution. To kick off our involvement, we organized a fundraiser. We wanted to create an event that would not only raise money but also raise awareness about the importance of education. The event was a success, with friends, family, and community members coming together to support the cause. It was an evening of celebration, connection, and giving back. During the event, we shared our journey and the reasons behind our decision to support this cause. It was heartwarming to see the support and enthusiasm from everyone who attended. The fundraiser exceeded our expectations, and we were able to contribute a significant amount to the organization. The experience of giving back was incredibly fulfilling. It provided a new perspective on our accomplishments and highlighted the importance of using our success to benefit others. It also strengthened our bond with each other, as we worked together to support a cause that was meaningful to us both. As the months passed, our involvement with the organization continued to grow. We became more engaged with their programs, offering our time and skills as mentors and volunteers. It was gratifying to see the impact of our efforts and to connect with the students whose lives we were helping to improve. One evening, after a particularly rewarding day of volunteering, Sarah and I reflected on our journey. "It's amazing to see the difference we're making," she said. "It feels like we're not only achieving our own goals but also contributing to something much larger." I nodded, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "I agree. It's a reminder of how powerful it can be to give back and to use our experiences to help others." Our commitment to supporting the educational programs became an integral part of our lives. It added a new dimension to our work and personal growth, reinforcing our shared values and goals. As we looked to the future, we felt a renewed sense of purpose and direction. The journey had been transformative, and the opportunity to give back was a meaningful chapter in our story. With Sarah by my side and a clear vision for the future, I felt ready to continue making a difference and embracing the opportunities that lay ahead. As the year progressed, our commitment to giving back continued to grow, and our lives were increasingly intertwined with the causes we cared about. The work with the educational programs became a significant part of our routine, and it was gratifying to see the positive impact of our efforts. However, amidst all the focus on external achievements and contributions, I began to notice a shift in my internal landscape. One evening, as Sarah and I were unwinding after a day of volunteering, she looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "Adam, do you ever feel like we're so focused on helping others that we might be neglecting our own well-being?" Her question struck a chord with me. I realized that in our drive to make a difference, we had been so immersed in our work that we might have overlooked some of the basic needs of our own lives. Our professional and philanthropic pursuits were deeply fulfilling, but I understood that maintaining a balance was crucial. "I think you're right," I admitted. "We've been so dedicated to our projects that we might have lost sight of some personal aspects. Maybe we need to take a step back and reassess." We decided to set aside some time for self-reflection and relaxation. We planned a weekend retreat to a peaceful countryside setting, hoping that a change of pace would help us reconnect with ourselves and each other. The idea was not just to take a break but to rejuvenate and gain clarity on how to balance our various commitments. Arriving at the retreat, we were immediately struck by the serene environment. The landscape was tranquil, and the setting provided a perfect escape from the busyness of our daily lives. We spent our days hiking, meditating, and engaging in meaningful conversations. It was a time for introspection and reconnection. During one of our quiet moments, we reflected on our journey and the importance of self-care. It's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of responsibilities and forget about our own needs. Sarah said, "This retreat has been a good reminder of the importance of taking care of ourselves." I nodded in agreement. It's been a valuable experience. It's important to remember that taking care of our own well-being allows us to be more effective in our efforts to help others. The retreat provided us with a renewed sense of perspective. We realized that maintaining a balance between our personal needs and our commitments was essential for our overall well-being. It was a lesson in the importance of self-care and the need to nurture ourselves in order to continue making a positive impact. As we returned home, we were refreshed and invigorated. We made a conscious effort to incorporate self-care practices into our routine, ensuring that we were not only dedicating time to our projects and philanthropy but also to our own health and happiness. We also discussed ways to further integrate our personal growth with our professional and philanthropic efforts. It became clear that finding harmony between these aspects of our lives would enhance our overall effectiveness and fulfillment. In the months that followed, we continued to support the educational programs and pursue our goals with renewed energy. We maintained a balanced approach, recognizing the importance of self-care alongside our external commitments. Our relationship grew stronger as we worked together to navigate the complexities of our lives. Looking ahead, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons learned and the progress made. The journey had been transformative, and the opportunity to give back was a meaningful chapter in our story. With Sarah by my side and a balanced approach to life, I was ready to embrace the future with a sense of purpose and excitement. As spring unfolded, bringing new life and renewal, Sarah and I felt a sense of optimism and clarity. Our balance between personal well-being and our professional and philanthropic endeavors had significantly improved, and we were enjoying a more fulfilling and harmonious life. The time we had spent reflecting and rejuvenating had proven invaluable, and we were eager to build on this positive momentum. One sunny afternoon, as we were discussing plans for the upcoming months, Sarah brought up a topic that had been on her mind. "Adam, we've been focusing a lot on our external projects and responsibilities. Have you thought about any personal goals or passions that you might want to pursue?" Her question made me pause. I had been so absorbed in our joint efforts and responsibilities that I hadn't given much thought to my own individual aspirations. I realized that it might be time to explore some of my personal interests that had taken a backseat. "I haven't really considered it," I admitted. "But now that you mention it, I think there are some personal passions I'd like to revisit. It might be a good opportunity to explore them further." Sarah encouraged me to think about what truly excited me. We spent time brainstorming ideas and reflecting on my interests. One passion that stood out was my love for writing. I had always enjoyed crafting stories and expressing my thoughts through words, but it had been years since I had seriously pursued writing. With Sarah's support, I decided to dedicate some time each week to writing. I set aside a small workspace in our home where I could focus on this creative pursuit. I began working on a novel, drawing inspiration from my experiences and the lessons learned throughout my journey. The process of writing was both invigorating and challenging. It allowed me to tap into my creativity and explore my thoughts and emotions in a new way. It was a refreshing change of pace and a reminder of the importance of nurturing personal passions. Sarah was incredibly supportive, often checking in to see how my writing was progressing. She encouraged me to keep going and provided valuable feedback on my work. Her encouragement and involvement made the experience even more rewarding. In parallel to my writing, we continued to be actively involved in the educational programs. Balancing these different aspects of our lives required careful planning, but it was a fulfilling challenge. Our commitment to giving back remained strong, and we found ways to integrate our personal growth with our philanthropic efforts. As the months went by, my writing began to take shape, and I found a sense of accomplishment in completing chapters and developing my story. The novel became a reflection of my journey, capturing the essence of the experiences that had shaped me. One evening, as we sat together, Sarah asked, "How does it feel to be pursuing something you've always wanted to do?" I smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. It's been incredibly fulfilling. It's a reminder of the importance of pursuing personal passions alongside our other commitments. It's added a new dimension to my life. Sarah nodded, her eyes shining with pride. I'm so glad you're able to explore this part of yourself. It's wonderful to see you so engaged and enthusiastic. The experience of pursuing my writing passion not only enriched my life but also deepened our connection. It was a testament to the value of nurturing personal interests and finding joy in individual pursuits. Looking ahead, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement. With Sarah's unwavering support and the balance we had achieved, I was ready to embrace new opportunities and continue growing both personally and professionally. The journey had been transformative, and I was eager to see where it would lead next.